Welcome to KimAppa. Jarrod and Robbie are here. Jarrod's back in London. That's me, by the way, in case you were confused. I know we look similar. Robbie is Are you in Chandigarh? I don't even know what city you're in, actually. I was
Yeah, I
about to
just got
say
here
it
to
really
Chandigarh.
confidently, and then I was like, where is he?
Yeah, yeah, Chandigarh. Just got here
uh,
actually today.
you're there for the T20 tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
Ah, perfect, perfect. Well,
Mm.
I know a lot of people want you to talk about the T20, so let's spend 7 hours dissecting England and the Ashes. Robbie, I think I don't want to put any words in your mouth, although I generally do. I don't put any words in your mouth. I think there are things about baseball that you really like and find interesting and you think have helped in cricket and blah, 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 blah. But I also think there are
No.
things about baseball that you think are horrible and
Yeah.
should be killed. But it's not all bad and it's not all good, right? So what I wanted to go through
Mm.
today was a bunch of things to see how both of us feel about these. I've got down 10 baseball points right
Mm.
here.
Mm.
Okay, so the first one is the batters like to change the length of fast bowlers in Test cricket. Do you approve of that?
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I
That's
would.
that's
It
fine.
would have been weird if you said no, being you're the man who used to walk down the
Yeah.
wicket to quick bowlers.
Yeah. I don't mind that. You want to take the attack on. You don't want to get them used to bowling
Yeah.
one particular length often enough and get them set. Because once that rhythm's set, it's hard to get them off that place.
Did you do it much in red ball cricket?
Yeah. Yeah, I played about what 150, close to 150 first class games.
No, no. I know you played a lot of red ball cricket. I'm saying specifically, did you walk down the wicket to fast bowlers in red
Yeah,
ball
yeah, I
cricket?
did, I did, I did, I did. Just to get them off their mark a little bit, I would do that from time to time. If I felt a bowler was getting set into a particular line, I would
Mm.
walk out and kind of get them to change their length a little bit, just for a couple of overs, just up the ante a little bit for a couple of overs, and then come back and allow them to think that I'm always going to attack. So just put a seed doubt in their head, and that more often than not would work.
Mm. What are the kind of bowlers that you would do it against? Are there any names that people would remember? Like, is it someone like Boovy? Is he a bit too quick? Or
Oh no, Pankaj Singh,
the
coming
great
through.
Pankaj Singh, my personal hero.
Mm. Yeah, Pankaj Singh, because he was one of those bowlers who would who wouldn't like to have the keepers up as well.
Mm.
Was fairly quick, late 130s, early 140s, and could get the ball to swing both ways. So when you did that to him, like a lot of the times in first class cricket, they take it on their ego and then they do different things. I would do it. There's another, I wouldn't say fast bowler, but a good swing bowler called Basant Mohanty, who can swung the ball both ways.
Mm.
Played for Assam, was a very accurate bowler. So would do it up against him, but he had this ability to say, "Oh, you know what, bring the keeper in, and then just negate me from walking out of the crease." And then so once he did that, then it was hard to get him off his length. You had to take a chance at some point or the other. But I would do it quite a bit to some fast bowlers. The experienced ones would completely go left field. I remember trying it once to Jeet Agarkar in a first class game, and then he started bowling way outside the off stump, and they had a 7-2 field, and then just
Mm.
started bowling way out, and then it suddenly didn't make sense to try and do that. But then what he would do is he would put that field and then start bowling short to me outside the off stump, hoping I'd start pulling the ball because I was such an instinctive puller of the ball. So different guys did different things, they responded differently, but more often than not, it worked.
It seems now that most teams are basically going towards trying to get their wicket keepers to come up to the stumps, right? So Alex Carey, there's all these great highlights of him keeping in the last
Mm.
game. Blundell, I think, was the first guy we saw really do this and come up to the stumps against some pretty decently
Very good fast bowlers.
fast New Zealand bowlers, right? Like, willing to be able
Mm.
to do that. So it's not as if it's a one stop fits all, but I thought like Ollie Pope's the one that I always look at the most of his ability to come down the wicket really does allow him to play probably his best shot, which is the flick off his pads right from under his eye line. And it takes
Mm.
away the LBW because he's quite often just outside off stump. And it means he doesn't get bowled as much because again, he's in front of his stump. So if you were to ask me if it's a perfect tactic, it's obviously not. But if you do it once and over, it means that the fast bowler cannot just pound a length against you, right? So it does make a lot of sense. I don't know if you know much about the history, but it has happened before. Like, I think it was Dennis Compton used to come out occasionally, and he did more what you would do, I would say. He took a couple of steps down to bowlers when they first came out, as if to say, there's no lengths you can bowl to me, and occasionally would whack them back over their head. And of course, Jarrod Kimber is famous for never standing in the same place twice on the crease. So he would go all the way back to the stumps, 2 meters down the crease, and Richard Hadley would say, you can't bowl to Jarrod Kimber because there is no length. He creates his own length. So there are strong thoughts about how you do that. And if you look at Joe Root, he quite often bats deep in his crease and then comes out. I think that's a better option than probably the walk down consistently, just because you're moving your head a little bit. But if you or Ollie Pope feel comfortable with that, I think it's okay. So that's a part of baseball that I'm sure a lot of English fans probably get upset at times. But I actually think that's not a bad part of baseball.
Yeah, I think that's a fair part of baseball. I think that's one that you're forcing the bowler to make a change, kind of almost step out of his own comfort zone and do something more reactive than being proactive about trying to hit one particular length, and then you get them off that rhythm. Then it takes a while to find that rhythm again. So it's actually a good ploy and something I actually like about baseball.
The other thing I liked about the original idea was that they looked at their team and they were playing to their strengths, not their weaknesses, right? So before, they were picking Denley and Sibley and Burns and, like Jennings and all these sort of very defensive Lees, Stoneman type guys, and they weren't giving them anything. They weren't actually doing that. And so in picking your attacking batters at that stage, when baseball started, they were still we all at least thought they were a reasonably good T20 and one-day team. They just come off winning the T20 World Cup not long before that. They were one of the teams that were higher rated for the 2023 World Cup. So again, I'm all for picking your strengths. If you if we all go nuts about the Great West Indies side, right? That's what they did. The West Indies went, our spinners aren't very good. Let's just pick all of our fast bowlers and see what happens. Again, I would say that is a genuinely good thing. The problem is when you believe that's all you can do, might be where the issue comes in. But the general principle of playing to your strengths, I think, makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does make sense. But you have to kind of balance that out a little bit. You can't have everyone batting that way, right? I think I remember initially when Joe Root, I think, when he played kind of sedate way of playing Test cricket, right? As in, he wasn't overtly aggressive, and there was a period of soul searching that he went through as a batter, and you could see it when he was playing Test matches, where he was like, "Oh, can I actually play this way? Do I actually want to play this way?" And then he tried playing that way for a little bit. Didn't really work out initially, but I think eventually he found a sweet spot. And
I think that's really important, isn't it? I think you're right. I think what he worked out originally is he took too many risks, and there's the Wagner ball, there's the Bumrah ball where he gets caught at slips. I think originally he didn't think you could get caught at slip playing the reverse paddle, right? And then when he got done doing that a couple of times, he took it away. But if you look at what he does, he actually still uses the concept of baseballs. He's basically just playing the middle overs of an ODI in Test cricket now, right? He's pushing the field out.
That's exactly what he's doing.
He's finding the gap and he's rotating straight. Again, you and I would say that's smart cricket. That's a good way of playing Test cricket, right? That's what the Aussies did around the 2000s.
That's proactive cricket. That's how you want to play Test cricket. You want to be able to put yourself in a position where you can proactively score runs, right? So you want to push the field back, tactically work out a method to push the field back, and then start milking the bowlers, right? And you can see Joe Root, that's his go-to method. Like he's aggressive for a period of time, then he starts milking them. Then the fielders come back in, then he goes aggressive again. So there's a clear ebb and flow with the way he goes and approaches Test cricket right now, which I think is a sweet spot. So I think that's the most ideal way you want to kind of approach Test cricket, where you're forcing fielders to go back. Virat I think also did that very well with when he was in prime form. He would actually push the fielders back and then start milking the bowlers, and then when they came back in, he'd be aggressive again.
I always remember Justin Langer is a really interesting one. Justin Langer was seen as a bit of a defensive player, but if you look at what he did, it was quite fascinating. He would quite often hit like 3 or 4 boundaries to start his innings, and then he would get in, and it's because he spread the field. There was only 2 slips in now, whereas there was 4 when he started, right? He didn't have a short leg in anymore because he played a couple of big pull shots. So again, I think that's fine. Here's one I'm really interested on your views of. I think in the general principle of saying these are our most talented players and we're going to back them, is a good selection option rather than the traditional way that specifically England has done it, which is 2 games in, 2 games out, 5 games in, 5 games out, 7 games in. So I think having a continuity and saying you're in this team to play this role and we're going to pick you for a long period of time and back you is better than the opposite, which is to never make changes every time someone fails.
It is the most ideal way to approach a team sport. That's when you're building a sense of trust, a sense of security within the group, and then a sense of clarity of role and defining the role, and giving clarity to a player. Because you have to understand, cricket is an individual sport within a team sport. So you want to be able to define the role for the players that are playing, and you want to make sure that they have the ability to feel like, okay, I'm not working to survive in this side, I'm working to thrive in this side. I know what my role is. I know I'm going to play these 4 or 5 games. So in these 4 or 5 games, I'm going to try and make sure that I stack up performances that help my team win matches, because that's what the goal is at the end of the day as a team, right?
Yeah, I would also, and I'd take it a step further, and I've said this quite a bit before. If you select a player and you give them 2 tests and you drop them, the error isn't the player. The error was you, and you should not be selecting a team. You've probably done something wrong, unless they've just been brought in for a couple of games for injury or for location or anything. But if you picked a player to bat number 3, they've batted number 3 twice, and it doesn't work, and like you have to ask yourself, and you're dropping them, and you're like, well, why did you think it was going to work? Like, have you made the right decisions? So I think that's another one. I really like when they're in the field, Robbie, and I think we talked about this during the India series. I really like when they're in the field and they don't allow players to settle into the batters to set into any kind of rhythm, right? Ben Stokes is very good at going, no, you're not just going to sit here and I'm not going to bowl these bowlers to you for the next 45 minutes each. You're not going to have one field. You're going to have multiple fields. You might have multiple bowlers. We're going to rotate through our patterns until we see something that's slightly uncomfortable, right? I don't mind that as a occasional one-off theory.
Yes,
I think the issue is when that's all you do.
Yeah, and I think that's all England have done. They've just gone with multiple kind of like plans. Every third over, there's a new bowler. No one's hitting consistently, trying to hit a good length, even when there's enough in the wicket to kind of assist the bowler to actually hit the right areas and actually induce an edge or induce some kind of doubt in the batter's head. Like you saw that in the previous 2 test matches, all you had to do sometimes is just hit the right length and just stay patient with that for 5 overs or 7 overs, and then you just get your bowlers to hit the right length. But I think Ben Stokes likes to work from being like doing things that are slightly out of the box, but he's constantly doing it, and then that's not working. That's actually counterintuitive for England, and I think that's why they've not performed to their strengths in these last couple of test matches. Isn't when the batters started backing away, when Labuschagne and Cam Green and Travis Head started backing away. Yeah, this is actually not far from the truth, actually. When they started backing away, well.
Yeah. When someone said Greg getting hit in the vagina, I was like, that wasn't what I meant to put on the screen.
When they started backing away, sometimes all you need to do is just bowl stump to stump, like what eventually
casted,
what is it? Casted against Green, right? He backed away and just bowled a full length on the stumps. That's all you got to do to when a batter's trying to take the aggressive route against you. And the thing is, batters feel like they have the freedom to do that because you're not bowling one length and you're just trying to go and intimidate a batter with the short ball, and that's not going to work in the long term, dude. It's an unreliable plan.
Another thing I like is that they have proper self-belief. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I follow, I've been covering the England side since 2008, right? I thought they had really good self-belief and discipline around 2009 to 2013, say. They lost some series around that time as well, but I thought they had really good self-belief. Outside of that, they've always been a bit of a, maybe Australia's better, right? Maybe South Africa's stronger. Maybe India's more skillful. And there is an element at the moment that team, up until this last couple of test matches where it might have finally been shaken, but they have like crazy self-belief in themselves. Even, I would say, in the face of an ample amount of evidence that suggests they should not have that self-belief. But again, as an athlete, you know what it's like. I always say that people say to me, how do you get along with cricketers? And I said, look, it can be tough sometimes because it's my job to be like, oh, this guy's really good at this, but he's not good at this. And we could use him in this situation. And they have to think, I'm the best player in the world. I have to go out there and smash Brett Lee back over his head, right? Like we're not even speaking the same language at certain times, right? And so I get that you have to have self-belief, but I think, obviously, I don't even think at this stage anyone outside of McCullum or Stokes would disagree. Perhaps they took it a bit too far.
Yeah, no kidding. They took it far and then some. Well, I think you need to be a little obstinate when it comes to believing in yourself, and when it comes to self-belief about what you can produce as far as the results are concerned. But there needs to be a modicum of balance also, right, with the way you approach certain things. You gotta be, and I don't think England have exercised that in the first couple of Test matches. It's just like, honestly, some of it to watch has been quite weird. It's like, it just felt like a mishmash of so many different things. And it just felt like, at one point, it felt like, who invented baseball even? Was it the Aussies or was it the English? Because it felt like these guys were responding or reacting to what Australia were doing in a way that they didn't know how to respond or react to. Like, it was just weird. It was just haphazard cricket for a period of time. And you just wondered what was going on. And you could tell that, the England team were clearly muddled in the head as far as what plans to go for, especially when they were bowling. And the batting, obviously, the bowling just was, just appalling after a certain point. And it just felt like, what are these guys doing?
We don't have time for me to get into how much I hate how they have bowled in this series at the moment. It is so bad. Okay. I would say I think I said I said 10 before, it might be 12. The first 6 things that we've mentioned there in baseball, you can find positives in them, right? Some of them are positives, right? Like I think that some of them make a lot of sense. But let's just go back and you can look at the counterweights on all these, and some of them you've already mentioned, but they're really good at changing length, right? As we said, using their feet and understanding how to upset even spinners with the reverse sweep. You can throw the reverse sweep in there. But at all times, when they're in front, they take too many risks. So when they get ahead in the game, right, they generally take a bunch of risks when there's no reason to. They're really good at taking risks when they have to take risks. Their biggest problem is, Robbie, that they take risks when they absolutely don't need to. And that's why people keep saying baseball with brains. And that gets back to what we were saying about Joe Root. Joe Root is still playing a slightly more risky version of Test cricket than he did before baseball. But look how good he is at it, because he uses it when it works and he doesn't use it when he doesn't have to. And the England team is incapable of that.
And that's exactly what I was talking about a modicum of balance, to know when to up the ante and not to, right? When you have the advantage, you want to keep that pedal on the accelerator with just cruise control, not overdo anything at that point in time. Maintain that pressure on the opposition, kind of slowly bat them out of the game a little bit, and then make them feel a little hapless and a little helpless, and then suddenly you've got complete advantage of the game, and then you can just go on. I think one of the things that this England team does is that they just want to go hard all the time, right? And I think they've not figured out how to balance the going hard bit, and it feels like they want to go full tilt all the time, and they're hoping that they're going to produce results over a 5-day period. That's not going to happen. It is genuinely unsustainable.
So I talked about this with Goffey and Steve Harmison the other day. I can't remember. I always forget. I always say it on a podcast, and then I forget to look up the quote. But I think it was Vince Lombardi who said the hardest thing is not getting to the Super Bowl, right? The hardest thing is getting to the Super Bowl, getting halftime, and realize what got you to halftime in the Super Bowl is no longer working, right? And you look at this England team, and that's the thing that they haven't ever worked out. The thing with baseball is, when it first started, it was incredible because a lot of it was like a right-hand punch to the face for a boxer. Are you a boxing guy at all?
No, not really.
No. As Robbie moves around, he's. So in boxing, generally you lead with your less dominant hand, right? Because there's more distance to travel for your stronger punch. So you very rarely lead with your dominant hand. But there are some great boxers who would do that because they were so quick with their hands, or they would do it because they would trick someone. But once you've done it for like a round or a round and a half, Robbie, the other person's like, well, I know what they're doing now, right? It's really dangerous. And obviously if they get me with one here, it's still a trick, but I know what they're doing and I can handle that. And so then if you're going to do right hand leads, you want to do them judiciously all the way through, right?
Yeah.
Use the
Yeah.
things of I still believe that there are things in baseball that England can do that other teams can't do. I think they have a collective team that can score at a rate that no one else can when they need to do that. Right. I think that they have this incredible method where they will, as we said before, upset the rhythm on a flat pitch so much, right, that it's almost hard for the opposition at times to score big runs. Like, I think there are really cool things that they can do that other teams can't do. But other teams are better at batting and bowling than them, right? So if you're going to have this great tactic, use it when it works. And I think that's the big thing for me of they, you look at all their things. So we said before, play to your strength. That's not a strength at that point if it's at the wrong time, right? That's the point where you just need, there are some times when they just need to, I'm going to just go out on a limb, leave the ball. They don't have to hit every single ball because that would, you tell me, you were known as an attacking batter. I'm sure there were periods where you would start to block or defend where the opposition's like, wait, what's happening here? Why is he doing this? Like, we thought we've got 4 slips in because we thought he'd keep going for the big audacious drives and he's not playing them anymore. Make them change what they're doing.
The first test match? The first test match with Ollie Pope and it was, who got that partnership? It was Ollie Pope and
Duckett, wasn't it?
Was it the Duckett who got that partnership going? And they were batting really well. And they just wouldn't stop flirting with that ball outside the off stump. And it's like they were trying to get out. It's like, dude, just for a while, just let that ball go for a little bit. Just hold on to your horses just a little bit. You'll get on top. He'll get tired of bowling there. Just give him 5 overs of just leaving the ball there and then come back and then refresh and then start again.
Don't get me started on don't get me started on the Zach Crawley. I'm really good at driving on the up. I'm going to drive on the up all the time. And it's like, have you seen a test match in Australia before? Did anyone have this conversation with you? We're not saying don't drive on the up. We're saying don't drive on the up to every single ball, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about selecting before. We come back to Crawley here. It's all well and good to give players confidence and say you're going to be playing in the team for a long period of time and you're in the team for a role and we understand your numbers won't be great. But at what point when Zach Crawley is 60 test matches in and he's averaging 31, right? At what point do you have to just admit you've made a mistake, right? Like, again, this is what it's all based on the same thing. You and I agree, I think, with the general principle of you want players to feel secure so they can play their best cricket. But you also have to be able to admit as a selection group or as a team that there might just be a better option outside the side than Zach Crawley. I'm not using him as an example. I'm using anyone.
No, but is there a better option than him? Because, like, see, one of the challenges with countries like England and Australia and New Zealand and all of that is that your real cream of the crop are not too many, right? So it was one of the reasons that players in England and Australia and New Zealand and all of that get a longer run than, say, countries like India or Pakistan, where the volume of cricketers are a whole lot more, right? And they get a longer run because of that. And so
but that is not how English cricket has been at all. England cricket uses
it's at least been that way for the last 4 years since Baz has been with the side.
It's
at least been that way. Yeah. So, you want to give that kind of security to your players so that they focus on performances. And Zach Crawley, when he's in good form, he is a player of high caliber, right? He does produce some really good innings. I remember that I think Ashes Test match in Headingley, was it, where he got 100? Oh, freaking fantastic 100, right? So that's the potential of the player, and they're hoping that he lives up to that potential as often as possible. And 100%. Unless they have a player who's close to that caliber, then you can say, okay, there's someone right on your heels here, right? And he's going to keep you on your toes. But if you don't have a player like that to push this guy, he's going to get in that zone where he's got the backing, he's not necessarily producing results, there's no one really threatening him for his spot. What happens then?
I get everything you've just said, but you just said he needs to live up to his potential. We're 60 test matches in.
He does. Yeah, I agree. See, the thing is, I agree. My question is, I don't know England cricket like perhaps you do. Are there anyone of potentially being close to his caliber to actually replace him, who can play aggressively?
Yeah. So when this started, right? So when he first came in, I actually thought it was a good idea. They didn't have a lot of players who were making a lot of runs in county cricket, right? Like one of the reasons they went to baseball is the 2 players that always made runs in county cricket were like Johnny Bairstow and Gary Ballance. There really wasn't many other players, right? Since
Yeah.
the start of 2023 in county cricket, Adam Lyth has 3,400 runs at 52. Now, Adam Lyth is really old. Fair enough. Alex Lees actually was playing cricket for England at the start of Bazball. You may or may not remember him. He's made 3,000 runs opening the batting at 52. Hasib Hamid has made 3,000 runs at an average of 47 and just captained a county winning side, right? Like, there's quite a few guys. Keaton Jennings is back making runs again. This is not like when they were picking
But
Joe
aggressively and non-aggressively, do they fit the Bazball mold?
No,
Does Keaton Jennings fit the Bazball mold? And that's the thing, right? You got to fit that mold as well. Like,
So-
you have to be able to, like,
do you
who's the
have
one
to?
who fits that mold? Like, you, not necessarily, not for me, but
Exactly. But that's my point,
that-
isn't it? You're right. You're right.
but that's the
why it's
norm
not
that they've
happening.
gone
Yeah.
through.
To be fair, most of those
Yeah.
guys have 55 to 60 strike rates. We're not talking about guys with 34, 40 strike. Jennings is a little bit slower, obviously. But
Yeah.
they are trying to score quicker. But the point is that there are some guys now starting to make runs, and I get it. They don't always care as much about first class records. And Alex Lees didn't make any runs when he played in Test cricket. Hamid probably came in way too early and is a much better player now. You know, Adam Lyth is about your age, right? Like, he's not coming back. Like, I get that, but it has changed, and that's kind of what we're saying is they're not willing to evolve with their own tactics because they've just decided that Crawley is the right batter for this style. And you and I would both say that Crawley matches Duckett perfectly. Like, a tall right-hander who drives on the up
perfect,
compared
especially
to a
tall guy.
4-foot left-hander. Like, it makes sense. But you do also have to say, if he does ever make runs, he's going to average like 34 in Test cricket. Like, it's still going to look like it hasn't worked, and I think that's a really important one as well. Let's go back to one other thing that I thought that you talked about, which was quite interesting before, which is patience, right? We actually like the disrupting nature of some of this, but if you don't back that up with patience, it's just like it's like a death metal song that never has like a chorus, right? It's just someone yelling the entire time at you, and that either sort of pushes you out the way or discombobulates you, or it doesn't. And we talk about patience with their batting, but as we mentioned before, they also don't always have patience with their bowling, right? They have this inability to read the game in the right ways and go about that. But I want to take this a step further. They bowl for wickets, and I really respect a team that tries to take wickets almost every time they bowl. And they have since Bazball has started. Like, they've really attacked. But they also have 3 guys in the current squad who have the 3 of the 20 highest economies in the history of Test cricket are in their current squad. So Shoaib Bashir, Gus Atkinson, and Bryden Cars. Like, we are talking generational runs. Now, Test cricket is faster now, Robbie. There's a lot of Nahid Rana from Bangladesh has got the highest economy ever in Test cricket. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand this, but they are not ever bowling for economy, right? And I just don't see how there can't be times when they need to also do that. Like, fundamentally, that doesn't make any sense to me as a cricketer, where you're like, no. When you remember that first session when Will Jackson and Stokes were playing against Australia, and Australia just went, okay, we're going to keep attacking and keep pressure on them, but we also don't want them to go anywhere. If they're going to defend, we're going to keep the field in so they don't score many runs because we know that the next session is the one where we're going to attack, right? That doesn't even seem to happen for England very often. They're always like, maybe we can attack now. And how many times have we seen? Do you remember at the start of Bazball that the Jasprit Bumrah over against Broad where he scores like almost 40 runs or whatever it was in that over? Of like, you don't need to give up 40 runs to Jasprit Bumrah. Like, why would you need to play that way?
But that's the thing, right? And they want to go full tilt all the time, and that's one of the challenges. They want to play Bazball on both ends of the sticks, right? Like, they're like, you know, with batting and with bowling. You can't do that with bowling. Like, unless the other team's playing a certain way. Like, in that first Test match, if you had just bowled length, especially when, like, for example, when Travis Head came into bat, you and I discussed this in the previous episode, that he didn't get off to a flyer. His first 50 or 60 runs were like almost traditional Test cricket, right? He batted what, 8, like,
he was 16
modern
off 20, and even that was pretty bad bowling when he got it, right?
Yeah. And all you had to do is just keep hitting those same lengths and lines. And you have the likes of an Archer with you, You have Wood with you have Stokes with you, who got 5 wickets in 5 overs in the first innings. All you had to do is just keep hitting those lengths. And
Yeah.
these guys were going to try something, and they just didn't do that after a certain point. They were so reactive that it was like, what are they doing? From the outside, it's like, this just does not make sense. Like, it did not make sense. The second test match, when they bowled the new ball, they actually bowled out their best bowlers before the evening session came along. And you and I were talking about this, and I'm like, dude, like, what's going on? Why are they doing this? Like, it's like the light's not going off at all.
So this comes back to the final part of it. We've talked about the strengths and the weaknesses. We could go on. There's heaps of really interesting other subplots, like the fact that they bat so quickly in their innings that their bowlers never get a rest, which was always a question
Yeah.
from England fans to me. Which, so there's plenty of little things like that we could talk about. The fact that they, outside of Ben Stokes, they only ever pick people who bowl the wobble ball. They don't have the same sort of, I suppose they don't always have, as much different kinds of bowlers in their side. They haven't had as many left armers, and there's heaps of things we could talk about that is quite interesting. But basically what a lot of this comes down to is, to go back to that NFL coach who I can never remember, like, there's an element of the thing that got them to work is now not working. And it was really interesting to me. It'd be really fascinating to see how they come back in this third test, right? Because if I'm in that chain, I would have been fired in that second test if I'd been their analyst, right? Because I would have lost my mind, as you know from the messages I was sending you, right? I was losing my mind watching them, right? And I'm an Australian. I want them to lose, and I'm still like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But if I was in that, I would just be saying, guys, what are we doing that is working, and what are we doing that is not working? Right? And how do we start to play cricket in that way? Like, let's just all put our hands up and just be like, we believe some of this, and it worked for like a year and a half. And since then, it's been a bit patchy, but we've had some great moments and we've had some terrible moments. Why can't we get to the core of what actually of this we can do that no one else can do? And also the core of what we might need to do on the days that we're not doing at the moment. Right. And that's the Kool-Aid side of it, right? That's we've lost this. Oh, we're going to go on holiday for 4 days now and we're going to have some beers. It's like, you and I both know that holiday was pre-planned, and they would have had it if they won or if they lost, right? He didn't even have to mention the holiday. What he should have been saying is, look, we've got some time off, and we are now going to have a big chat and just have a look to see what's working and what's not working. They seem unable to do that as a team internally, and then they make it worse by doing the worst possible public sentiments on top of that, right?
They're just being obstinate with what they believe will bring them success. Well, and it's not wrong to do that, as long as you're being realistic, at least internally, as to where they're actually going wrong. And if you're having honest conversations within the group, like, hey guys, like exactly what you said, what are the things that are actually working for us, and what isn't working for us, and actually figuring out, okay, how to find a modicum of balance between the two and move in that direction, and at least hope to move in that direction and say, okay, this is our intention for the next test match, right? But I don't think that, at least from the communication that is being put out there by England at this point in time, displays that in any way, shape, or fashion.
Someone's just put up a message to you, by the way, saying the Boomer 40 overs was pre-Baz ball. It wasn't pre-Baz ball. It was in 2022. So it was just after they started. And it was, I know this because I've got it in my note. I actually commentated on that over. I've got it in my notes going, I remember saying to myself, I get the bouncers, but at what
Whoever
stage
that was, don't challenge Jarrod on this kind of shit.
No, I
He's
get things
dyslexic.
wrong.
He remembers shit like he remembers shit, dates and numbers like nobody else
I don't
does.
remember what day of the week it is. I think I was supposed to take my car into the shop today. Anyway, I'll get my dad to help with it. But look, I wanted to have that chat because I think what's happened now is, because they're 2 down, everyone's like people have forgotten that they actually had lost. They'd won 1 game out of 17 coming into this, right? They went on an incredible run. We both see some of the positives in it, but we also see a lot of the negatives, and that's what I wanted to have a proper chat about it. This is a very brief one. One day we'll do it with all the stats and everything else. You want to talk about Sanju Samson not playing in the T20 side, which I also find fascinating.
Yes.
So talk to me about this, my friend.
So I was listening to Suryakumar Yadav doing the press conference before the T20I series, and after that ODI series, which I think was absolutely phenomenal, what I found quite surprising is that in the post match of that series, in the press conference, or at least what I watched of the press conference, I didn't see Gotham giving credit to either Rohit or Virat, which just felt weird. I was like, hey, here are a couple of guys who've practically battered out of their skins and shown us again how good they are and how good they can be, and kind of uh, reduce all kind of doubts, or shut down any naysayers about what they actually can do, and what they will do for India, when they're in the right kind of form. That felt strange. And then the following day, when I heard Sky speak about, only the two openers are going to be settled positions, and then the rest of them are going to be floaters, like they're going to bat anywhere. For me, I'm I'm a little skeptical about that, right? I actually think you need to have at least your top three really settled in. I think one of the reasons Surya hasn't performed as well as he has, say for Mumbai Indians, or otherwise, before he started moving up and down the batting order, is because there is no settled position. And even in T20 cricket, yes, I understand after the first 6 overs, you got to be super flexible. But in that first 6 overs, if a wicket falls down, your number three has to be a set piece. It cannot be a moving piece, right? And I think I disagree with the fact that it's supposed to be a moving piece. I think it has to be a set piece. And I think a player of Surya's caliber must be must be given that clarity that, okay, you're the number three, you're going to bat in number three. If the wicket falls in the first 5 overs, you're going, unless the batters get off to a flyer and we don't lose a wicket in the first 6 or 7 overs, and then say a lefty gets out, then we send in Tilak to continue to up the ante, or a Shivam Dubey if the spinners are coming on.
So you're not really saying that the first three is set in stone. What you're really saying is that
just
you're
for the first
number
6 overs.
Yeah, you're the number three for this section. I think I agree with this. It's funny. I remember having a chat with a Test player once about batting orders in Test cricket, and I was saying that you don't want Jonathan Trott coming in when it's 200 for none. You want Kevin Peterson coming in when it's 200 for none.
Yeah.
But you don't want Kevin
Yeah.
Peterson coming in when it's 10 for one, right? And as long as we
Yeah.
can, players can understand what their roles are in teams, I think they can understand that.
Yeah.
I think what the issue is at the moment is that, and this is not having a go at captains or coaches who do this, Aaron Finch, Gautam Gambhir, these sorts of guys. Like, I get it, but there is an issue at the moment where it's a little bit less. It's like, oh, actually, I've got a hunch, and that I think can upset the rhythm of some of those changes, right? Because at that stage, if you've got a hunch, it maybe isn't quite as clear cut. Whereas, no, we want you for the new ball, we want you for this bowler, we want you for this time period. I think makes a lot more sense than maybe some of the ways that it's done at the moment.
And I'll tell you why. My argument is, right, people can say cricket it's modern cricket now, and this is how cricket is played, right? But the preparation of a batter does not change, right? Your mindset to how you approach batting at a particular position does not change. Now, if I have to get into the mindset of a batter thinking, I don't know where I'm going to go. If the wicket falls in the first 6 overs, I'm going to go as a number three. If the wicket doesn't fall in the first 6 overs, I'm going to go maybe number five, number six, even number eight. Surya's gone at number eight at some point, right? I think in Australia, went at number eight in one game. And that's something that I wouldn't want one of the best batters in the world in T20 cricket to be actually doing, right? You want those kind of batters. They are pure match winners to get as many deliveries as possible in a T20 game, right?
Yeah.
You want them to be in as good form as possible, especially leading into a major tournament like the World Cup, right? I understand being flexible, but you've got to be flexible after a certain point. I think you need to have set pieces to at least set the foundation of your batting, right? Once that's set, then you build however you want to build for that game. But till you set that foundation up, till you get a solid start upon which you can build your innings, you need to have set pieces.
Yeah, I think in general, we think about batting orders the wrong way anyway, right? Which is, I suppose, what I was saying a moment ago is I don't think you're a number three and you're a number four and you're a number five. I think you're a backup opener when a wicket goes early, right? You're a power play maximizer. You're and everything else. And I think if we get to that kind of language, I think batters will start to understand it. But part of the problem is, and this is,
but how do you approach as a batter though? How do you Jarrod, how do you approach it? How do you like mentally prepare for that role? Because you have to prepare for more than two roles then, right? So if you
No,
like, and the
exactly.
thing is,
But I
you're
think the
kind of setting
issue,
yourself up for failure if you actually set yourself up for one role, and then you say, I'm a backup opener if a wicket falls early, but if a
yeah,
wicket doesn't fall early, I could be a finisher today. Now
yeah.
you can't prepare for two roles in one game. It's going to be really hard to actually stack up performances and build confidence within your own game. Because at
But
the end of the day, batting is a confidence game. If you're not scoring runs, if you nick off because you got two good deliveries in a test match one day or a T20 game, when your confidence is low, it's going to get hard to score those first 10 runs, first 15 runs, no matter what.
I
Right?
think I
And
agree
then
with
that's
what
going
you've
to, and
said.
I think that's what's happening. That's what's happening with Suryakumar Yadav, according to me.
But I think I agree with what you say. But I think you're thinking about it the wrong way because every player has to prepare for two roles. If you're batting at number 3, you have to be prepared to be in on the second ball or in on the eighth over anyway, right? Like that is what being a number 3 is. So if you have more
Sure.
defined version of that, which is we need you to
Correct.
bat
But the
if the
thing is,
wicket goes in the first
whether you
4
see,
overs.
and that's the thing, if you're batting at number three, my argument to that is if you're batting at
Yeah,
number three, you know you're going at number three, irrespective, if it's a set piece, you know you're
I
going at
get that.
number three, irrespective
But
of
it's
any
still two
position.
different roles is my point, right? And so this is,
Not
I suppose,
necessarily. So,
what I'm trying
not
to say to you
necessarily.
is, well, it is. If you start on the eighth over and you've got both spinners
No.
from both
If you
ends,
start in the eighth over, you're going in with the mindset that, hey, I just need to make sure that I get in the, I don't lose a wicket immediately,
yeah,
right? Because there's already a partnership that's happened. So there could be an ebb in the flow. So I'm going to make sure I'm going to give the set batter strike as much as possible to build a mini partnership and then up the ante so that you're not losing back-to-back wickets. You continue to put pressure on the opposition because the team's gotten off to a great start. Then you're set. By the time you're set, the other batter's already gotten in. If you can build that partnership, you're already set on the back end of that partnership to go, and then you're going to finish a game after being set versus you're going to finish a game without being set.
I understand. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, batting is multiple roles, right? Like we both agree that you have to do it. What you're saying is, if you go in at number 3, you understand what your role is. What I'm saying is, it's still number 3 is still multiple roles. No matter how you look at a game, it's always multiple roles. The issue that we have in cricket, and this is no modern cricketer's fault, right? This happened about in the 1950s, right? Generally, what would happen before World War II is players would go in for their skill set for that time in the game, right? So you would use players to what they were most skilled for that particular time in the game, and then we went away from that and we made it more about numbers. So what I'm saying is, generationally, the issue is, and this is why it's really hard. This is why you're right, because modern cricketers think like you, and you're supposed to think that way because that's how you've been doing it. My point is, if I have a cricket team, I want everyone's skill to be maximized, and if that's the case, I need more flexibility, but I can't have flexibility because you're a number 3 and you have to go in and play the way you do. So I actually agree with what you're saying, even though I'm vehemently disagreeing with it. But what I'm saying is that the future of cricket is this other sort of role definition. To be honest, none of this will matter in the future because there'll be 20 players on each team, like an NFL side, and you'll just, that guy who doesn't go in as the backup opener just won't bat at all. But the point being is, I can understand why they're trying to do what they are doing, but as I said before, the issue is if it's not really, really clear to all the players what you need to be preparing for before the game, right? That's the tricky bit, because I've been in these dugouts and so have you, when a coach is like, I'm going to change it randomly. Yeah.
But that is exactly what I'm talking about. That is actually the tricky bit because that is exactly what's ailing the Indian batters, I think. At least Suryakumar Yadav at this point in time. I'd love for him to bat at number 3 and get runs, or bat at 5 and get runs, and not average 13 in the last 20 games or whatever his numbers are at this point in time. Because he's too good of a batter to have those kind of numbers, right?
Yeah.
And today I'm telling you, it's not affecting him because India is winning matches. He's one of the most successful Indian captains right now with what 85% win percentage. If that drops if it drops, like God forbid it shouldn't, but if that drops over the next 9 games, then it starts impacting his batting and it starts impacting how he leads in the field as well.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And also, like, there is a
and
certain
for me,
point
I'm looking at it from India going. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm interjecting. And why it affects me is because, like, why it bothers me is because India is leading into a World Cup at home, where it's you want to have your main batters to be in really good form going into a World Cup that you're playing at home when you're defending a World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a John Buchanan thing. Do you remember when he was coach of Australia and he said like there's two different methods? There's make sure everyone knows their roles 100%, or there's make sure everyone knows their roles, but all you do is experiment as you come in because you're more like an Olympic coach at that point, right? Like there are different methods of doing this, but if Sky is not informed by the start of the World Cup, that's an issue, isn't it? Right? Like you have to remember that the way the players think, right? The way the players think is really, really important. As you said, if you get to that World Cup and he hasn't made any runs and they lose a game that they shouldn't lose early on, that can destabilize them, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to. And the one thing I like about the batting in different positions now, and I probably would stop doing it around this time, like I want everyone to know exactly what they're doing. But in general, I like the idea of getting to a World Cup where I really want a situation where everyone has the ability to problem solve. Right, like and do that. So there is an element of like moving people around, but if you don't have confidence in everything when you get there, I think that's very, very different. Should we?
Yeah, because I think if this goes south, this will backfire on both Surya and on Gautam Gambhir, and people are anyway gunning for his head anyway right now. But it'll backfire. It'll backfire on them very badly. And I don't want an Indian cricket team going into a World Cup trying to defend a championship, a world championship, with their main batters not being in good form, right? Like yesterday, Hardik saved the skins out of like India's innings, right? India's innings. It's like if it wasn't for that 60 off 24, 28 deliveries, we would have been what? Take off 60 runs from that, or 30, 40 runs from that total, right? And that's 130, right? And
yep.
But that's those are the things that actually concern me. The other thing is Sanju Samson not opening the batting. Like that's another thing that
is the question I actually asked you, and you just didn't I ask you about Sanju Samson and you told me about Sky?
No, and then we went to Sky after that. And so, but with Sanju Samson thing, another thing he said in the press conference was that he said Shubman Gill opened for India in T20I cricket before Sanju Samson got the opportunity to open, because whilst playing cricket in Sri Lanka, Shubman went ahead to prepare for Test cricket, right? And which is why he didn't play the T20Is in Sri Lanka. Okay. Something to that extent he said in the press con, and be that as it may, in my head I'm thinking, if I'm a player and that's happened to me, I'm like, hey, you gave me an opportunity, you gave me 8 games, I've got 300s in that, right? And I've done really well. If I'm not wrong, in T20I cricket, I'm averaging the second or third highest after Abhishek Sharma. What wrong have I done to not find a spot at the top? And yes, you're giving him a run, but is there communication alive with me, alive with Sanju, where he said, okay, you know what, we're going to try Shubman out for a few games. If it doesn't work out, you jump straight back in.
So internationally, since the start of 2023, Sanju Samson has 13 T20s, average of 35, a strike rate of 182. To be fair, Jaiswal is averaging 36 at a strike rate of 164, and Abhishek Sharma is 38 with a strike rate of 191. They've got some options. Shubman Gill in 34 games since the start of 2023 is averaging 29 with a strike rate of 140. Now, I think he's a little bit of a different batter than that of recent times.
He is, and I think he's batting completely opposite than what actually works for him, what actually brings him success. He's the kind of T20 batter who gets in a little bit. He's not a Sanju Samson type of opening batter. He's not an Abhishek Sharma type of opening batter. He's the kind of guy who gets in, and once he gets in, you can't get him out. He's got to go through that rite of passage of batting those first 10 balls, batting those first 15 balls, and scoring a run a ball, or maybe striking at 120. And after that, up the ante, because once he bats those first 15, 18 balls, it's almost impossible to get Shubman Gill out. So I think he's doing something that's actually counterintuitive to his batting right now.
I looked at his overall record because I don't like international T20 on their own. I don't think people play enough, and you're not always playing full strength sides and all sorts of things. It just the data's all over the place. So I usually look at IPL or top level T20 and internationals altogether. Shubman Gill has opened 78 times and he averages, where are we here? 42 with a strike rate of 150 since the start of 2023. And Sanju Samson has only opened 20 times, and most of those are for India, I think.
That's because 35. He doesn't open the batting for he didn't open the batting for RR, right? And he doesn't open.
So I think it's like 13 times for India and 7 times.
Yeah, so it's
It's still the numbers are there, man. He's striking 166, an average of 35. It's. I think it's an interesting one because I still believe they made it more to do with future captaincy decisions and everything else. I think Shubman Gill is a much better T20 player than he was a couple of years ago anyway. So I'm not like,
Yeah, he is.
oh, this
Without
is the
doubt.
worst decision we've ever seen. But there are 4 really good
No, it
openers
isn't.
here.
Yeah, there are. And that's the thing, right? You want to figure out like what kind of like leading into a World Cup, because that pair was working. Sanju and Abhishek was a pair that was actually working. It was a pair that complemented each other, right? And actually brought the middle order into the game, whether it worked or not, right? So, for example, it is on the back of Sanju's hundreds that Tilak came in and scored his hundreds that was scored back to back in South Africa, right? So I think that was a working piece that was changed, albeit to accommodate Shubman Gill. It's not like he doesn't deserve to be there. He of course deserves to be there, but should he be playing like Sanju Samson or an Abhishek Sharma? Absolutely not, according to me.
Yeah.
He should be playing like himself, and he should be playing like what actually works for him.
Yeah, if you got to pick him, let him play like himself. I'm 100% with you
Just
on
play,
that.
just let him play the way he plays and scores runs. If that's not happening, if you want him to play a certain way, there is a guy in the dressing room who's playing a certain way. Let that guy go and do the job.
Let's move on to some super chats. Robbie, MZ something says, Steve Smith, the best bat of his generation, genius cricket, alpha. So just so you know, the alpha wolf myth, which is why men always talk about this alpha term, has been completely debunked. It's complete nonsense. And I can tell you, having met Steve Smith, he is not an alpha. No one thinks Steve Smith's an alpha. You and I both met Steve Smith. Even if we believed in the concept of alphas, Steve Smith is not an alpha, is he? He's a nerd. He's one of us. Sumia says, Ashes is boring the last 15 years. BGT is more interesting, I think he meant, after Kohli, and South Africa's been better too.
Yeah,
England just like that fighting spirit. I did this on the Stick to Cricket, Michael Vaughan and Toughest podcast, and you love this, Robbie. They put it up before the Ashes, and people went nuts. Don't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. Then they put it back up after the second test, and now I'm completely right, apparently. It's just like people have like a goldfish memory when it comes to this sort of stuff. Like, I'm not more right than I was a couple of weeks ago. But the point is that I think the Border Gavaskar Trophy has been more interesting, and South African cricket's been more interesting.
100%.
Even the World Cups. The problem isn't that the Ashes in England have been very interesting, actually. It's the Ashes in Australia have been, even when England were good in 10-11, it wasn't a particularly sexy series. Anyway. Oh, wrong one. Koshal says, Robbie, how would you react if someone did to you what Puran did to Holden? Do you know about this? Do I need to explain this one to you?
Yeah, so Holden stepped out, ball is outside the off stump. Puran collected the ball from Rashid Khan, didn't take the bails off because he was batting on 40 of 37 deliveries. So like, keep batting, you're only helping our cause. And obviously it's not it doesn't look good to the batter. It doesn't augur confidence to him. Like, he must be having an off day in the office. I've been there. I think
tough,
a lot of batters have been there. It's tough.
I actually thought as well that he might have come down to try and get himself stumped so he could go out. And Puran realized that and was like, yeah, because he came down on an odd angle, because that ball it came early on the leg side, and I was just like, oh, I think he's trying to get himself stumped. So I think Puran read it and was like, no, if you want to go, you have to go on your own. We're not letting you go. But that's professional sport. It's tough at the top, guys. Like, that's how these things go. Prudvi says, 2002 India Test win at Leeds is a version of outbatting the opposition that England can use, although no chance to survive that long.
No chance. Like, the fact that they went back to, like, let's bat this out. It's like, I mean, what do you guys do?
There was an element, though, of like, oh, this is the cricket we want them to play. But as John Norman said on TalkSport, John's like, but this is the time that you probably want to attack, because you know that the pink ball is gonna be doing something more. It's gonna be harder to see on the lights. So it was funny. They can't
It's
win.
a colossal brain fade.
You know what it's like. You've been in this situation though, when like you're working with a team or you're playing with a team, and like you just feel like you can't win. Everything you do just goes against you. Like Usman Khawaja's back injury is like maybe the defining moment of this series, and yet no one even remembers it, right? Everyone just remembers how much England is getting smashed everywhere. Gabriel says, why do we often see an opener in Test, middle order in ODI, and vice versa for the batter? England is only good at trash talking India, and India should have won there. I don't think England's very good at trash talking, to be fair. Why do we see someone who opens a test and middle order in ODI and vice versa? Do you want to explain that very quickly in technical terms?
Oh no, I don't know. I'll probably take a while. You'll probably do it sooner than me.
So essentially, the white ball only swings for a short period of time and only seams for a short period of time. And a lot of those middle order players who are naturally aggressive struggle when the white ball gets soft. And so what they really, really want is that ball coming onto the bat a little bit harder. So if you look at that sort of, Sachin, Mark Ward, those sort of early adopters to this idea, they just wanted the ball to hit their bat hard and be able to pierce through the boundary and get into their innings. It's actually a lot harder. I would say it's a different art to start in the middle order of a one-day game than it is with a red ball, because when you play against red ball cricket, it's still hard and everything else. It's little things too to do with the field and how the field is and having the field in and everything else. But everyone's different. Like there are lots of players who go.
There's also a tactical aspect to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the tactical thing, as much as that was there, I think at a certain point you look at what I think Sachin did it after Great Batch, right? And I know Sanath and Kalu, but they're a little bit different. But when Sachin and Mark Ward do it, there is a certain point of they're also the best ODI batters, right? And you want them to bat as many balls as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as long as you can handle the first 2 or 3 overs, it gets a lot easier. Prithvi says, the coach doesn't like superstar culture and administrative board picks a superstar 3-format player ahead of deserving players in the T20 format. P.S. Nice jacket at the match yesterday, Robbie.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Do you want to shout out? Don't you have a stylist?
Yeah, I do. I have one.
would have been nice to give them a shout out there, and you didn't.
Yeah, Saveri, my stylist. I absolutely adore what she does for me, and just takes away so much helps me just create so much more headspace for work.
People often say like, "Why do you wear a hat so much?" And it's like, I think they think that like I don't like my hair or whatever, and it's just like, no, it's just I don't have to think about it.
You've got a great mop.
Yeah, but it doesn't do the same thing on day basis. You know,
like, listen, like I've done what, two hair transplants, 3 hair transplants, and dude, I'm like, what? This guy has got a great mop ahead, and he's not fucking showing it. What the fuck's wrong with this guy?
Do you know? It's not just that. I also have. I've realized now I've got like 15 white t-shirts, and it's the same thing. I just don't like to make the choice in the morning. I make so many creative and different thoughts.
Yeah, I've got that as well. Yeah, I've done that as well. I think as you get older, you want to be more productive, and you want to not waste headspace for like small stuff, and just make it simpler to make these choices on a day-to-day basis and just get on with the day.
Vaishak says there have been a lot of great individual T20 bowlers, but is India's combo the best a team has ever assembled? Attack plus defense, no weak link thoughts. I think it's fantastic. I've been saying for ages, I absolutely love their bowling lineup and how it works.
And Hardik makes it feel so much more complete, eh? And with Arshdeep and Bumrah there at the top, it just feels like such a well-rounded, like a bowling lineup that just is so threatening all the time.
Saga says, if a common viewer can understand in what session to attack and when to try and bowl and what session to bat in a pink ball test and how England fails, irrespective of how they play or not, it's a good point. You've got to remember that when you're in the moment, it's funny, like sometimes you will say something to a player after a game and they will suddenly be like, oh, yeah, that never occurred to us. And we get it with podcasts, right? We'll do a list of players on a podcast or something and everyone will be like, I can't believe you didn't mention Shiv Narayan Chandrapal. You've got to remember, it's a completely different world. And when you're out in the middle,
it's called,
and everything is going on.
It's called sarcoma. It's like it's right in front of you, but you don't see it.
Yeah. And so sometimes that happens. And I also think that just in their case, they just don't think the details through in the way that they often should. Right? That because they are so sure that they are right, they don't do what another team might do, which is, wait a minute, is this the right decision? There's no second guessing themselves. Satire.
Sagar, do you know how we make super silly mistakes when we're really overconfident about a math examination where we've done everything right, but just at the end we have to add everything up and we make the mistake there at the end? It's a lot like that. You're overconfident and you think you're right and you just go ahead and do things and you don't see what you're doing wrong.
Abhilash says, satire. Ben Stokes in the middle of the Adelaide Test will offer a handshake to Cummins for the series. I joked in the second Test that the most Bazball thing would have actually been for Stokes to declare when behind and lose the game. And just be like, we're not going to come back and win this, guys. Let's just call it here and just head off, right? And I was thinking the same thing for the third Test of like, maybe we'll just play golf Do we have to go and play the test matches? It's bad when you get to this level. Jack says, GG was saying Gill injury contributed to India losing the first test. Then shouldn't he also consider the Wokes injury that made 2-2 possible? Yeah, that's just the coach talking up his team. That's what they do. It's not his job. It's not. I think some people forget that it's not McCullum, and you can hate McCullum or Gambier as much as you want. It's not their job to be objective about the truth for the outside viewer. They're talking for the team, right? They're trying to tell the team what they want to say. They're like, oh, we would have won that test if it wasn't for Gill. And it's like, yeah, okay, you and I, Jack, can go back through the tape and go, what about all these other games when someone got injured, right? Like, Justin Greaves and that incredible 100. There's a few injured and tired New Zealand bowlers involved in that one as well. But that's not the way he has to look at it. And it's not the way the team looks at it. Anyway, that's me and Robbie. We'll go before Robbie's patchy Wi-Fi gets any patchier. I haven't seen Robbie's
patchy
eyes.
Wi-Fi? What the heck?
Oh, it's coming on my end.
The lighting's not great.
Oh, maybe it's
I think my eyes, it's just the light here is not great.
It's so bad, the light, in fact, that I've forgotten that you're wearing a Sacramento Kings top, and it's a very good looking top.
You just wanted to say that at the end, didn't you? You just want to take a dig at me, right?
Not one mention of World Test Championship this Ashes. No, it's been mentioned quite a bit because of South Africa. But I don't know where you've been following stuff, Virish. But yeah, so I'll say one thing. Generally, as bad as English cricket has been, they have not been as bad as the Sacramento Kings. But we'll be back shortly for more KimAppa. You'll be able to see Robbie commentating, and I don't know, you'll be able to see me wherever you see me. And we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.